Welcome to the Free to Soar podcast. My mission is to inspire, empower, and equip heart-centered, mission-driven, kingdom-minded business owners to show up freely and fully as the brilliant, powerful change makers that you are, so that you can lead the business and the life of your dreams. You'll enjoy vulnerable, authentic conversations with me and other heart-centered, mission-driven leaders that will spark your heart and ignite your passion to powerfully transform you, your business, and your life from the inside out. Your next level of impact and income is about unleashing the fullness of you, reprogramming your limiting beliefs and patterns, tapping into and trusting your inner wisdom, and harnessing God's power within you so that you can unlock new possibilities in your business and your life. And this show brings it to you. Step with me into a God-powered reality wilder than your wildest dreams, with freedom, impact, abundance, and enjoyment that you were created for. Let's go. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Free to Soar podcast. I'm your host, Connie Jones, and I'm excited. We've got another incredible guest today. I actually just met her, but I already love her. I think you will too. And so, welcome, Angela Nelms, to the podcast today, and we'll talk about who you are in just a second. But I just want you to say a quick hey here, and we're excited that you're here.
Connie, I am super excited. Let's do it.
Yes. All right. Super. Well, Angela Gill Nelms is the Chief Executive Officer of AGN, the AGN Group. And it's AGN International, where she specializes in leadership and team building and mental well-being and living life to the fullest. And we'll dive into all of that in just a few minutes. AGN serves as the CEO and co-founder of her nonprofit, Recovery Advocate Network. She serves as the host of the Recovery Advocate Network's podcast and works to raise funds and awareness in order to address resource disparities for individuals with mental health disorders, trauma, and identity challenges. She's also an expert in building strong company culture and scalable businesses with vast experience as a COO at Florence Healthcare, Renovo, RX, and at you'll have to help me with this this
Atos Imaging.
Atos Imaging. There we go.
Yes.
She has won numerous awards, including Atlanta's 100 fastest growing private companies, the Inc.'s 500 fastest growing companies in America, repeated Best Company to Work For awards, and more. In her free time, Angela is found spending time with her daughter and her service dog, serving on mission trips and pursuing hobbies like blacksmithing, wood turning, and traveling the world. Welcome again, Angela, to the podcast, and I can't wait to dive in.
Thank you, Connie. I am so grateful to be here, and I am super excited as well.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, I always love to understand, I love to hear people's stories. And so I want to hear, obviously a condensed version of your story. How did you get where you are today? What's your heart for, what's your passion for, what's the why behind what you do?
Yeah, thank you so much, Connie. Well,
Yeah.
I was born on, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right, yeah. Give us the whole story. We'll be here for a while, you guys.
Exactly. Back in 1975.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, I have from a very young age loved to serve others, loved to teach and educate, and had this customer service mindset in everything that I did. In fact, I remember very early on, I was coaching someone and they worked at this Office Max, and I overheard him say, "Oh, I'm going to wait to really work hard when I get this job." And I was just like, seriously, dude, I don't care if you're a busser at McDonald's. You should be the best bus person on the planet. And that's kind of how I've lived my life and how I've built my companies, with really this idea of being where your feet are. So being in the present and doing the absolute best you can in the present in all areas of your life. And so part of that, because I also love this poem that's called The Dash by Linda Ellis.
Yes.
And it really talks about, talks about the importance of the time between when you're born and when you pass away, and really living every single day. So And much of that, it's also meant that I have made decisions in my life to pivot my career when I was really miserable. I started working in finance. I was really successful at it. And Connie, I hated it. And so I made this decision as a 29-year-old single mom with a special needs 2-year-old to go back to school at Georgia Tech and get my engineering degree. And which, of course, that's what everyone does, right?
Yes.
It's not. So it was really hard. But if you do hard things, they pay off. And
That's
so I was really able with that degree to be able to harness the teaching mindset that I had, but also this passion for caring for humans. And my degree is in biomedical engineering. And so I've spent the majority of my career in the healthcare space and really utilizing my engineering brain. And how can I help utilize that to help improve the world and society around me? And so that is when my biggest accomplishment would be helping to build Florence Healthcare with the other amazing founding team. I was not a founder. I was the first non-founder. And it was just really great to step in and build a company that was making an impact on the world and doing it with white glove customer service and creating a culture that people loved to work for. And really, that was a huge pivot in my life where I said, okay, this can work. Companies can do this. It takes a lot of discipline, and so that was amazing. Now, I had a transition. I did unfortunately have an event. I had a kidnapping in August of 2020. That's why I have a service dog. And so one of the blessings of the kidnapping and escaping and then going into treatment and mental wellness treatment, which is where the nonprofit came from, is that I then was in treatment for my severe PTSD. And I observed this phenomenon where individuals would be in treatment, and especially if they were in treatment for something like grief or depression or PTSD, something that didn't have a set program, like an addiction program is typically a set time frame. And I saw a lot of people whose insurance would suddenly drop them.
That's exactly.
And it was it's devastating to not just them, but it's also devastating to the people around who are trying to heal, because all you're thinking is, what if my insurance drops me tomorrow?
Right.
And really devastating to the individuals who work at the treatment centers, because most of them work there because they want to see true healing. And so as part of that, that's where we started the nonprofit. And so what I've tried to do with my life going forward is part of the nonprofit is education, reducing the stigma, and adding those financial resources. So the podcast is all about education and reducing the stigma and really having open, transparent conversations to try and improve mental wellness throughout society. And then in my personal life, and which we actually have changed it to the AGN group, because come to find out, AGN International is the only time I've not checked to see if there was already something with my initials, but that's like this big accounting thing overseas. And I was like, are you kidding me? So, but what we do so I was just like, the only time I've not checked that, because I just assumed AGN, the initials, was so unique. It was not.
I would assume the same.
But the AGN group, what we really focus on doing is we believe strongly that every individual has their own personal badass. And what that is that's your absolute best. So whatever Connie's absolute best is and whatever Angela's absolute best are not the same, but they are our own personal badasses. And we often find that a lot of people are not brave enough to really step outside their comfort zone to reach those personal bests. And so the AGN group, what we do is we collaborate with individuals, companies, and teams to work to pull out the best of everyone, to build those cultures, to build those companies, and to fulfill those lives in the best way possible.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. And so what does that look like practically? So like, who are the people that, like, you don't have to obviously say exactly who, but what kinds of, do organizations come to you? Is it small business owners? Is it corporate? Like who finds you to seek out your services to optimize their potential? The potential of their leadership and of their leaders, of their team members, of, whoever. Tell me what does that look like?
Yes. So I would say yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Organizations, companies, a lot of through referrals and individuals. One
Yeah.
particular individual that we're about to start working with has realized the value of creating his own personal brand.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is also, how do you portray yourself to the outside world in the most authentic way possible? And
That's
how do
right.
you think about being streamlined and strategic with that? So for this particular individual who's reached out to us, we're working with him on, okay, what does your LinkedIn profile look like? What do your other social
Yeah.
profiles look like? Do they actually show the message of what your personal, we're really big on living your personal brand. And
That's
really,
it.
when someone thinks about Connie, what do they think, right? And it's not in a way that you should live up to other people's expectations. That is not
No.
what the intent is at all. But to say, okay, is what I'm portraying out to the world who I really am authentically?
Yes.
And how do we then amplify it so that then we can do our best work to the individuals who need to find us? So that's one example, is on an individual basis. We may work with them on their personal branding. We may work with them on their website. We may work with them on, what are your mantras that you say? What are what habits do you have that actually fulfill to be your best? Now, for a company or an organization, they may want us to come in and do a team building event, like maybe a workshop, where then we try and work through several of these types of things with them. They may also, really a huge focus of mine is building amazing cultures.
Culture.
Every company has cultures. It's just whether or not you're diligent and disciplined about the one that you want to have. Yeah.
That's exactly.
And so,
well, because you are creating one. Yes. If you're whether you're being intentional about that and creating the one you want or not, is that, I would call it drinking the Kool-Aid. Are are your people drinking the Kool-Aid flavor that you want them to be drinking? Versus
I love it.
just, and so, anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you?
No,
saying?
I love it. You're spot on, right? And it's how do we make sure, really working also with companies who maybe they created value or mission statements either a long time ago or maybe in isolation, and working with them to say, hey, let's do an all-day workshop, and we're going to throw the mission statement up on the wall, and we're going to throw the values up on the wall. Okay. And we're going to allow people to have a safe space to say, that mission statement was great 5 years ago, but that is not what we're doing now. Or we have a previous company I worked with had speak up as one of their values. And it became to the point where we would laugh and say, I don't even know. And it was on our ID cards too on the back, which I actually hate when people do that. Anyway, but we laughed because we were like, if you speak up at this company, you're not going to get a promotion. You're not going all of these things. Right. And that happens so much. And a lot of times I think that happens is because organizations don't pause to once a year do a workshop like this.
Reevaluate.
Yeah. And it's great when you can bring in someone externally who doesn't have an agenda. Their only agenda is to make sure you walk away with something that is truly authentic to who you are as an organization or as a company or to an individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. So much of the time we don't even realize how much, and I say we, leaders of organizations are in misalignment with either our mission statement. We've gotten out of alignment with our personal why and our passion. We maybe are not, our values are not updated. We're not aligned with those anymore. And we don't stop to ever evaluate whether the alignment is there or not. And so I see that a lot. And so then we just get in the day to day, the reaction, the urgency of the day. And we don't realize that, oh my gosh, we've gotten off course and we need to get back on course. And it sounds like that's what you're one of the things that you're really great at with helping organizations do. Yeah.
So I have to tell you this story really quick, and then I'll remember what it got back to. So I had something similar happen to a guest on my podcast. And because I, like you, release a video and an audio, okay, he and I are talking away, and all of a sudden I see him climbing underneath his desk. And so because I don't edit my podcast episodes, I say to everyone, okay, for those who are not watching, Stephen is now climbing under his desk and he's typing into the chat. I disconnected my microphone. It was priceless. You know what happened just then? My power to my microphone, I forgot that the batteries might run dead and it wasn't plugged into an outlet.
At least you knew exactly what it was, so you could just, hop right back in.
Oh my gosh.
You reacted. I was like, I thought you were going to say, oh my gosh, what happened? And you were like, oh, I got it. And you just went right now and fixed it.
I looked over and I saw, I'm not seeing my volume go up either. Let's look at what troubleshooting number one is. And now I've not had that happen before, but going back to what we were saying is that it's so easy for us to get into our daily grind and continue moving forward. And I also think that sometimes companies and organizations and leaders believe, wait, we worked so hard on this mission statement, or we worked so hard on these values. They're set in stone. We should not be changing them. And I want to add a healthy perspective to the fact that times change, your teams change, sometimes your customers change. And if you get into this healthy annual, I recommend annual. If you get into this healthy annual cadence, put it on the calendar, schedule a full day event every single year at the same time.
Yes.
Then you know when to course correct, or you know when to change and update things. And also, here's a little hidden thing. Your culture automatically spikes in a positive way because your team realizes you really care about them and their voice. Mm-hmm. And too few companies actually display that type of culture.
That's it. Taking the time out intentionally to build the important pieces and to fortify the pieces of the foundation that are so integral in the growth of the company is important. And every organization evolves. We're evolving all the time. Our organization, our businesses are evolving. And if we're not paying attention to that, we're missing the boat. And then we wonder oftentimes why there's stuck stagnant energy, and it really does affect the growth of the organization when there's stagnancy there. And when we're not acknowledging the evolution of who we are as a leader of the organization and the evolution of our team or the evolution of our organization, and what does it look like? This is who we were a year ago, but that changes over time. And it's supposed to. It's a beautiful thing. If we're not evolving, that we're either growing or we're dying. So I totally agree. And I'm so glad that you bring that point up, because a lot of people are not thinking about that. And so talk to me in just a few minutes. I'll just switch gears just a little bit. Talk to me about the fundraising raising funds and addressing resource disparities for people who have the mental health challenges, the trauma, and the identity challenges. Tell me more about that. That's exciting.
Yeah. So that really what our goal is. And it's been slow going, which is fine when you have a lot of volunteers for a nonprofit.
Oh my gosh.
But what our goal is, right. what our goal is to be able to at some point provide what we call bridge grants. And so what that looks like, and we are working with one particular center that we've selected. And what that looks like is that if someone is there and they're at this particular center, we're also very particular about the centers that we partner with, because all treatment centers are not created equal. Some are really awful.
Yep.
And we strongly believe that a healthy treatment center is one that provides a lot of different modalities for treatment that really works to set up the individuals for success. So we're being very selective with the first couple treatment centers that we partner with for that reason, because we have a little bit of money, right? We need to make sure it's going towards this collaborative effort that's going to drive success. And so then what might happen is you would have an individual who's there and they're working really hard at their recovery, and suddenly their insurance drops them. And so what we want to do is have the ability to very quickly be able to provide a bridge grant that's either for an extra couple of days or an extra week. And what it may do is it may give them time to appeal to their insurance company. It may give them time to apply to a scholarship from another larger nonprofit that can facilitate that. Or it also will give them time to create a healthy transition plan. Because what happens right now, Connie, at so many of these treatment centers is if an individual gets dropped, they have to leave like that day or the next day. No transition plans. And sometimes these people have flown cross country the exact example that the founders of RAN had was that we're sitting around having coffee. We're like, where is this person? And they said, oh, her insurance dropped her yesterday. She had to fly across country the very next day. No outpatient care set up. And you talk about, we wonder why treatment centers struggle being successful. That transition plan is huge. And so that's really what the goal is for those financial resources, is to be able to provide those bridge grants to give extra time to set up for success.
Oh, that's amazing, because I've seen that, as a mental health provider, I have seen, and owning a counseling and coaching practice for years, I've seen that, and it seems like it's just getting worse. They would, sometimes insurance companies will cover, 10 days, sometimes they'll cover 3 days, and sometimes they'll say they'll cover time, and then it's like, you haven't even gotten somebody, in crisis stabilization or out of crisis stabilization, and their insurance company no longer pays, and there they are. And so, let me dive into this just for a second. I want to hear, do you mind sharing a little bit of your story with the kidnapping and like what you went through and how, that's where you discovered these disparities, obviously, and the need.
Yes.
But share a little bit about that piece of it and what happened, because it's just it's a beautiful thing, and it's so interesting. And I'll ask you about your faith, and because that's we talk a lot about that on this podcast, obviously. But it's amazing that it's interesting to see how God has turned your experiences into so much more purpose, and now you're able to help others with the struggles that you've had, and I love that you've paid attention to that and you've followed that path, and it's just a beautiful thing. But share what happened.
So I just got chills when you said that, though, anyways, because it is, and sometimes it's hard because we're super busy to remember. Remember that piece. So thank you for saying that. It gave me chills in a healthy way. So so I was a single lady in Atlanta dating via an online dating app, met someone who later we found out had actually been actually changed his profile, manipulated all of his questions and photos and everything to target me in that. Wow. And so, we went out a couple of times and something just didn't feel right. And so then it was enough for him to know my schedule. And so I went out to walk my dog that I had at the time one night. And that's when I was kidnapped and held hostage for 5 days. And during that 5 days, God and I had a lot of conversations.
I'm sure.
I won't use any of the explicits that I said to him during that time or her, whatever it was. But I, even in treatment, and then when I went into treatment afterwards, I was very much like, I don't want to talk about God. I don't want to talk about a higher power. I don't want to talk about any of that, because at that point, and I said to individuals, like, here's the deal. I think God understands if I'm mad at him right now. And I think that he can appreciate that. It may not be the right response. It may not be your response. But right now I'm mad because this happened, because I'd had a lot. I grew up in a very abusive family. I lost my first child stillborn. I had all these obstacles. And I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? Right?
Yeah. And I can understand. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that tying to one of the blessings of growing up as a Christian, some of the things during those 5 days is I would repeat certain scriptures that I loved over and over in my head, because it was really all I could find sanity for. So the Lord Shepherd, or the 23rd Psalm, I would just repeat over and over and over. And I did that when I was a child and I was experiencing abuse. And it is one of the reasons why when I coach people, and when I mentioned earlier about branding and all of that, and what are your mantras? And when I used to race Ironman races, I would memorize songs and I would memorize these motivational things, because I know for a fact that replaying those things in your head, those words of wisdom and inspiration and motivation and strength, when you are able to draw upon that muscle memory that you've created, it can help you move mountains. And it literally helped me survive. And when I had the one opportunity to escape, I was just like, I'm going for it. And I strongly believe if I had not had a really solid mindset going in and had not built those tools in my toolbox, then I'm not sure I would have survived the kidnapping and made it to where I am today.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What I hear you say is that you taught your not only your nervous system but your mind how to be regulated and resourced. You were by bringing that awareness back to this foundation, this mantra, this truth, this powerful truth. You were able to regulate yourself, regulate that in a very stressful situation and a traumatizing situation, and you were able to resource yourself so that you could take that opportunity to move in when the opportunity presented itself. Otherwise, you would have been paralyzed or, just who knows what. But you were empowering yourself with the words, the statements and the truths.
Absolutely.
And not only we take that to a whole nother level when it's God's word that we're repeating, and that is biblical. I mean, he says that, when we declare his word, as truth, then it has power. It has divine power that nothing else does. And so I love that. And so you escaped. And then what happened? And like,
Yes.
give us the skinny on that. I mean, like what happened to give you that opportunity to escape?
I had a moment where I was out because he had kept me in a large dog kennel. And I had this moment where I was out of the dog kennel. He was on the opposite side of the huge room that we were in. And I just saw a moment to run for the door, and I did. Wow. And I am grateful that I was able to just react instantly. And I will say that some of these skills, so when I work with coaching individuals and trying to build up this strength and this mentality with them, I say, really these different ability to remain calm in a highly stressful situation, I had honed that skill over the years. I used to proctor surgeries for Medtronic, and it was for a lot of first in man medical device. And they was all for clinical trials for things that were not approved by the FDA yet. And so you have to learn when you have a brand new device and you're in a surgery with a physician, and if something goes wrong, you have to learn how to stay calm, do your just like the microphone, right? You have to learn how to stay calm and go through your mental checklist. Like, what's the first thing that could happen? Oh, the power is not going to the microphone, right? And I think that God had blessed me with those opportunities also to hone those skills of being calm in a storm. And then when an opportunity came, to identify it and just go for it. And that's what happened. I will tell you that the criminal justice system is really awful to survivors of things. And so I won't go into all the details of that, or with him and where he's at now. But I will say that I stayed in the state for the next week working with Special Victims Unit. And then I went to North Carolina for 4 months and stayed with my best friend there. And that's when I got my first service dog. I now have my second service dog. And really the dogs have helped totally save my life, because I went from before the kidnapping, I wasn't afraid of anything. I mean, my self hashtag is be brave, be badass that I've had for like 14 years.
Yeah.
And that was my brand. And people, when they saw me, they were like, this is a tough cookie. She can do these, this is the life that I've lived. Right. And I went from that moment to in a second, I was terrified of everything. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything. I was really just paralyzed. And when the doctors, my psychiatrist said, you should get a service dog, I was like, I am absolutely not getting a service dog. Like, no. But I will say that Cuba I went from slowly, and now as time has passed, my new service dog's name is Harley Quinn. And now I'm able to go more and more places without her with me. If I travel and I'm staying in a hotel or I'm flying, she goes with me. But in the beginning with Cuba, I mean, he went to 6 months worth of residential treatment with me in 3 different treatment centers, and he really just allowed me to know that, like, at one point I was just like, okay, just try and do something to me because it's going to turn out really badly for you.
Yeah. What kind of dog is he? Or what kind of dog was he?
German Shepherd.
Oh,
German
wow.
Shepherd.
And they are so smart and such beautiful dogs. And then what is Harley Quinn now?
She's a German Shepherd as well.
German Shepherd also. Oh, I love it. Oh, they are so precious. I'm a huge dog lover. I have all rescues. I have bully breeds. So I have rescue. I've got 4. And then my mom lives with me, so she's got 3. And she's got 2. She just lost another one. And so I'll rescue all the ones that nobody wanted. They're rescued and rehabbed and so loved. So you'd start talking about dogs, and I am just like, there's just nothing better in my. It's like God spelled backwards as dog. I
know. I love that. I love that.
They're the best, and I'm so glad though that you have embraced. Because so many, there are the service dog, popularity is just amazing, and what they can do for people is incredible. And so I love that. Have you, are you involved, like your nonprofit? Do you guys, are you involved with any, the service animal?
No, we don't do anything with service animals. I would love to at some point in the future.
Yeah. And maybe that's something that's coming. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think what a lot of people do not understand about service dogs is they are incredibly expensive. A really good service dog is really expensive.
Yeah.
It's not easy to find depending on what the need is for the individual.
Yeah.
And also a struggle is the individuals who don't have service dogs, but have fake service dogs.
Right.
And they don't understand that by having a fake service dog and having a dog in these environments that's not trained to the level it should, the risk that you put a fully trained service dog in. And and it's also made it so much harder for people with service dogs. Like when I first got mine, I had so many restaurants and stuff questioned because I look completely able-bodied, right?
Sure.
And it took me time. So I have done a lot of mentoring for people who need a service dog and coaching them through their mindset, because it took a while to where I finally got the mindset. And if you walk in and your dog is clearly fully trained and you have the mindset like, no, I am allowed to be here, people do not question you anymore. So it's funny. People were like, oh, do you get rejected from places? And I'm like, no, I did in the very beginning. But that's because I went in with this tentative mindset.
Isn't that interesting? We don't realize that's a perfect example of everybody does that. And when we are shaky, people around us are just mirroring what we believe inside of us. Always. Yes. And so I love that you say that, because it just is it's so pervasive in everything, every aspect of our thinking, that anytime we're shaky on something, anytime we're not centered in the truth, and we are not grounded in that, then people are going to pick up on that around us. And then we don't hide it as well as we think we do we?
No. And you can tell when someone's, and I now have restaurants, like flight attendants, and them, they will all come up to me and say, thank you for having such a totally legit service dog. It's amazing how many people now come up to me, and those are the statements that they make, because it is very obvious. We get to a plane and she'll almost pull me down to get and curl up on the floor in front of me. And I'm just like, okay. But it is a blessing. And I think to the individuals who have fake service dogs, to me, it's the equivalent of parking in a handicap spot that you shouldn't be. You're just making life more difficult for those who need it. And a lot of people have made comments to me like, oh, you're so lucky you get to take your dog everywhere. I'm like, do you know, it's actually
what
almost
this cost me? Do you know what this
how expensive it is? And do you also know that it is almost like having a toddler you're taking with you, right? Because I have to bring dog food, I have to bring dog poop bags, I have to give her a bath right before the flight so that she doesn't smell like a dog too much. Like there's all this extra work
that no one thinks about.
Exactly. I have to fill out the forms for the airline every single time. All of these things that I have to also, because in doing stuff with other companies and organizations, if I travel somewhere, I have to think, okay, how am I going to manage her when I'm in these meetings? Or if I go on a site that is not, maybe has chemicals or something like that, that would not be a healthy environment for a service animal. These are all of these extra things that I have to navigate through in order to live a full life. And so, yes, it is. I mean, I think she thinks it's great that she gets to go with me everywhere.
Of course. And they probably, they love to work. So,
love it.
She's in her element. Speaking of, what you were talking about a little while ago with, that I meant to come back to, is that people, you were saying that everybody has this uniqueness about them. They all have this badassery in them. And I call it their essence. It's their unique essence. And so we all are expressing our unique essence out into the world. And that is our brand. And this is her unique essence. This is what she does. This is her thing. She's in her element. And so, she's loving it, but anything like that is, it's costly. I don't mean costly, it's costly financially, but it's also, it costs us time, energy, resources, all the things. And we don't think about that. And we oftentimes just, other people take that for granted. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that's, we need to be educated on that, what really goes on behind the scenes with that, because, we all think that something just, that'd be easy and fun, but it's not always just easy and fun.
No, it is not. It is not. Yeah. And I also try and remember that when I'm talking to individuals about stuff with service dogs, or about also, if you see someone with a service dog, do not go up to them and start asking them all these questions about the service dog, or asking them all these invasive questions about why they need to have a service dog. Absolutely do not go up and pet and talk to the service dog, or whistle to the dog, or do any of these things. People do this stuff all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I think before I had a service dog and I really knew, I didn't understand all the things. So I also try and think of a beginner's mindset when I'm talking to other individuals, and realizing it's kind of a gift to educate other people, because I think people want to be kind to their fellow human beings. And if they realize that it's really invasive to constantly have someone go up and ask you questions about your service dog, because now you're one of 30 people who's done it, especially if you're traveling, right?
Exactly.
That I think when you realize that, then you understand, okay, wait, I can look at the dog from afar, but I don't need to know this person's personal business.
That's it. Yes. Oh my gosh. I try to, anytime I see a service dog, I leave them alone, because I can just imagine not only, the dog's working, for one, so you're not supposed to mess with them, but two, it's just how many times they have to, it's just so irritating. And that causes so much more stress. It's like, it's like double stress for you. So, I'm glad that you've mentioned that, because we need to be mindful, of, we think that we are being kind, But oftentimes we need to be educated on what is truly kind. What is the kindest thing that I can do for this person right now? And sometimes that's
Love it.
giving them their space,
You're spot on, Connie.
Thanks for sharing that. Well, tell
Absolutely.
me this, how'd you make peace with God and like get from, how'd you like from, the treatment and the PTSD that you were struggling with to the place that you're in now where you were just like, no, I am like, first of all, what happened with your relationship with God? And then secondly, how did it get to the place where he turned your pain into your purpose?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think it was a slow journey.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was tied to also my healing from my PTSD because for the reason I spent so long in treatment is I was having debilitating nightmares. And so I was not, and they couldn't find medication that I could actually sleep. And so there's a reason that sleep deprivation is used in war for torture. And I really just had this life that was not worth living. Like it was so miserable. And so part of regrowing that relationship with him was very much, and to be clear, I just say him because that's just the way it's been in my head for forever.
That's
take
what
it
we
any
say
way.
here. That's what we say
any
here.
way any individual wants to.
That's exactly. Yep.
So really a lot of it was slowly over time and really having a lot of conversations with him in a very transparent way and sharing when I was mad and frustrated. And I think slowly over time, I started to see his hand and the ability to make a much bigger impact on society now than I could before. And that is a gift I really wouldn't trade for anything because now I know so much more about humanity, about human nature, about how important mental wellness in all different areas is, about how to understand individuals who are struggling with, like, for example, sexual identity challenges and things like that. I've learned so much over these years as a blessing from this that's really made me a better human along the way, which I think should be something that we have as a goal is to continually grow in our humanity. And so I think that was really a big piece of it. And then when I really became way more back involved at church when my first service dog suddenly passed away. And I suddenly was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Thankfully, there was a trainer that they knew my story and Harley Quinn. I had the opportunity to get Harley Quinn. And so I only had to wait 3 months between dogs. But during that period of time was really where I also didn't have that service dog to lean on. And so I really forced myself to lean on like my church community and those individuals and really reach out in that way. And so that transition also was a huge impact because it really showed me the other resources that I have, not just the service dog, and to be able to rely and trust on them again, which I had not wanted to because I felt as if humanity and God had just left me be to my own resources, which I think we think a lot.
Absolutely.
And then realizing that, okay, no, like these things can be useful in a lot of different ways. And I can rely on him. I can rely on those who have similar beliefs as myself.
Yes. Oh, that's such a beautiful story. I love that. And now you're able to, you've risen above it. And not that you don't, you're both people. You experienced it, but you empowered yourself, or he has empowered you, and a little bit of both, to rise above, to be able to help others along the journey that they're on. And it's such a beautiful thing. I love that. Is there, and I know it's already time to wrap up. Oh my gosh. Like we could talk we need to have you, we need to have you back. We absolutely do.
Alrighty.
We can do that. Let me just say this. When you talk about, you're a warrior for people who are, who are trying to improve their mental well-being. You're a warrior for those who are trying to live life to the fullest. And, but living life to the fullest, we think is this wonderful thing that it's like, and I found this too, and I have a very similar purpose, as you, different assignments, but similar purpose, that, we all want to live life to the fullest, and that sounds great, but are we willing to go through what it takes to be able to live life to the fullest, which means that we have to go through the hard challenges to grow and be able to meet not only ourselves at a level that is really uncomfortable in some cases when we're kind of on our face in the most vulnerable positions and circumstances, but also meet God in those moments. And so what I've heard you say is that you recognize that those experiences for you have allowed you to heal, to live life to the fullest, and that you realize that it wasn't God's punishment, it was God's preparation the whole time that has
Yeah,
allowed you
you're spot on.
now to step into your purpose. But doesn't it, in the moment, it does feel like punishment. It feels like, oh my gosh, I'm being left. I'm being persecuted. It feels like persecution and punishment.
You feel like Job.
Versus yeah, exactly. It's like, here I am, but I think it is so interesting though, and maybe God is showing me this it's just nothing new, but it's just hopefully inspiration and encouragement to our listeners that, that living life to the fullest doesn't come without challenges, and challenges are essential for our growth. And that's how we maximize our potential. Are there any last little words of inspiration or encouragement or empowerment that you want to say to people about that, to inspire them along the journey to live life to the fullest, knowing that any road that we have to walk out that takes us to that place where we really want to be, full of purpose and fulfillment and meaning and abundance, and all the things that God promises us, includes challenges, and oftentimes
Absolutely.
really hard, painful experiences.
There is a fact that the character trait of resilience, no single individual is born with resilience. Resilience is a trait and a skill and a capacity that you hone and grow over time. And the only way that an individual can build resilience into who they are is to go through hard, challenging times. Mm-hmm. And it is like the movie quote. And actually, if you see this little quote behind me, it says, "The hard is what makes it great." And it is, back to the movie quote, if it were easy, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great. So I cannot think of a single example in humanity of where something was done that people look back and say, wow, that is amazing. And it was super easy for that individual. Right. So if someone thinks that it was easy, trust me, it wasn't. Anything that is really revolutionary, that is changing, that is really making a positive impact, meant that the individuals who did that, they had to go through sacrifices. They had to make hard decisions.
That's right.
They had to sit in moments of most likely self-doubt.
That's it.
Maybe they had to do pivots in their lives or in their careers or in their relationships. They had to do all of these things in order to get to that full purpose. And when I think about those things and realize that, then I realize that, okay, this particular moment is absolutely not my favorite moment in time. Like, this kind of stinks.
Not my best.
Yeah, this is not my best. However,
but it produced my best.
Exactly. And how can I have a mindset that pauses for a moment and said, okay, what is the next right step, the next best step forward? And that's what I'm going to do. And instead of having this mentality of a victim where I could say, oh, I was severely abused as a child. I'd lost my first child. My second child has special needs. All of these things, instead of piling those up in a bucket that is really going to wear me down and take away my joy in life, instead saying, okay, well, through this childhood, what I learned and the lessons I got from it were this. I love to reframe things in life about, okay, what growth happened for me? What life lessons did I have? How can I utilize this growth and these life lessons to help empower someone else to make their life a little easier. And that's really my life mission in this, is that I don't want to make somebody else's life hard. I want to, when I learn something, I want to share those tools with somebody else to empower them. Because when I do that, that butterfly effect means that those individuals now are going to be able to do so many much greater things, right? Than I was ever able to do, but only because I was able to focus and harness the energy and the positive energy and the resilience and those tools and help share those with others.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And that's the epitome of lifting as you climb. As we climb, we can lift others, and what's the tide rises. What is that? Well, I can't even think of the.
All ships rise. The rising tide lifts all ships, or something like that.
All ships, or something like that. Yes. It does. It
is like rising tide lifts all ships.
All ships, or something like that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'll have to look that up. But that's exactly it. It is so true, and that's what and that is the way God created us. It created us to help others. And he's in all of us. And so sometimes it's it takes learning from and getting empowered from someone else's experience and being resourced by someone else, what they have learned through their painful, challenging times. And that is and that helps others through their struggles. And it's such a beautiful thing. But the fact that you have you made the choice to listen to your heart,
it is a choice
to pay attention to the evolution of you, and to pay attention to the things that were challenging, that have pointed you in the direction of even more challenges, but more purpose. And then that allows you, I always say, we have anointing in the areas of our breakthrough. And so you are anointed to do what you do today, to lead this global organization, to help people, optimize their potential, because you were willing to say yes to the opportunity. And thank you for that. And that's just such a beautiful thing. I wish we had hours more to talk, because I know we have so many more things to talk about, but hopefully maybe we'll have you back. But thank you for what you do, and thank you for how you do it and how you show up as the brave, badass woman that you are. And, it's okay. We don't, just because being brave and badass also doesn't mean that we can't be afraid, and that we can't
be vulnerable.
Yeah.
We can't make mistakes. We can't say, maybe not today. I'm going to stay in my pajamas and stay in bed today, because today isn't the day that I'm going to crush it. Those things are all also healthy ways to live life.
Absolutely. But we can also, we can say, all right, but 24 hours, I'm getting back up.
Exactly. Time to get at it again.
Absolutely. And a last thing, I promise I could just talk to you forever, but what are you most excited about for 2025? What's fueling you right now?
I'm most excited about, I have a new podcast coming out, which is a leadership podcast. And this is my actual studio for it. And it's Brave Hearts, Brave Conversations, Badass Leaders. So I am very excited about that. I am also really excited. I hope that 2025 has us giving our first scholarship grants to some individuals. That would be amazing.
Yes.
And then in my work life, I'm also working towards a position that would allow me to help select, mentor, grow, help fund innovation startups in the medical space.
Oh,
and so I'm really looking towards focus in that area. So it's really those kind of three buckets, really growing a leadership podcast, because I think people can learn so much from other amazing, brave, badass leaders.
No doubt.
And really getting ran to where we actually are able to give our first scholarships, and then also being able to help with the innovation and starting amazing companies. So I would say those 3 buckets is what I'm most excited about.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And it's interesting to see you're evolving. You're continuing to grow. You're continuing to look at what's next and just paying attention to what's in your heart. And that's such a beautiful thing. And then sharing that with the world. Is there anything that you want to leave us with that we haven't shared? How do people get in touch with you? Maybe we can put that in the show notes, obviously, but if anything else you want to share before we
Sure. I love that.
close up.
Well, first, I want to share. Some people hear my story and they think they could never survive that, and I want to share that yes, you can.
Mhm.
And if you need or you're looking for mentorship or coaching or collaboration to help build that resilience or that
Resilient.
mindset, then please reach out. That is my specialty, is what I am very passionate about offering those, as well as team building workshops to help your company and your
Yes.
individual be your best self. You can find those resources on our website, which is theagnGroup.com, which I know we'll include. You can also email me at Angela@AngelaGillNelms.com. And I would be more than happy to collaborate on that as well. And so I think those are the key things, is that you do have it in you. Maybe you just need someone to help pull it out, to help you have
That's
those tools to
right.
utilize. And I'd be more than happy to assist with that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here and being brave enough to share your story and to step up and be the brave, badass leader that you are
Thank you,
to so
Connie.
many.
I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for everything you're doing. I love, as I
Uh,
mentioned, I've listened to several of the episodes. So I'm really proud of the work that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, it takes a village, doesn't it? It takes us
It
all.
totally does.
And we each bring our own story and our own experiences and our own unique gifts. And then when we show up in our essence and share our experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, our people find us because they just know, oh, I relate to her. I need what she has. I want what she has in her. And that's when, we have it to share. And so it's just a beautiful thing. And so I appreciate you sharing that today, and look forward to big things for you in this next year. Excited for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Connie.
Okay. Thank you for being here. All right, you guys, and thanks for joining us today. I hope you were inspired and empowered. And just if I'll make sure that we include the information in the show notes so that you can reach out to Angela if you're inspired or you want to find out more about her and the work that she's doing. And otherwise, we will see you right back here on the next episode with another brave, badass leader. And hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you are in it. See you soon. Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining me today on the Free to Soar podcast, where we empower and equip you to lead the business and the life of your dreams with freedom, impact, enjoyment, and abundance. I look forward to our next episode together, and I invite you to subscribe to be notified of new episodes as they are released. Please share this or your favorite episode with a friend or a loved one, and I'd love it if you'd leave a review on iTunes and Spotify.